Welcome to The Explainer, where we dig into big ideas by going straight to the source. Today, we're tackling a really radical claim about one of the biggest names in literature, Charles Dickens.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. The claim comes from a hugely influential 20th century critic named F.R. Leavis, and his argument was pretty wild, that the real masterpiece in Dickens's collection wasn't Oliver Twist or A Tale of Two Cities, but this short, often overlooked book called Hard Times.
I mean, Leavis's praise was just off the charts. He called it a perfect, completely serious work of art. But that raises a pretty big question, right? If it's so great, why was it basically ignored by critics for decades? Why was it just a footnote compared to his other blockbusters? So why was this supposed masterpiece kind of hidden in plain sight? Well, Leavis had a theory, and it all came down to what people expected from a Dickens novel.
You see, critics and readers wanted that classic Dickens experience. These huge, sprawling, messy worlds, just overflowing with characters that felt so real they could walk right off the page. But Hard Times, it was the total opposite. It was tight, it was focused, it was symbolic. Instead of just showing us life, Dickens was giving us this powerful, organized argument about life. And because it totally broke the mold, most people just didn't get it. They missed the point entirely.
So here's the absolute key to Leavis's entire argument. To get Hard Times, you have to stop thinking of it as a regular novel. You gotta put it in a whole different category. He calls it a moral fable. So what the heck is that? Well, think of it like this. It's a story where everything, and I mean everything, every character, every place, every single event is a symbol that points back to one big central idea. There's no fat to trim. It all serves the main argument. And that's central idea. It's a massive takedown of Victorian industrial society. It's about a world that's been poisoned by this cold, inhuman philosophy that cares more about facts and figures than about people. This wasn't just a story for Dickens, it was an indictment. And the trial is staged as this brilliant showdown between two totally opposite worldviews, two completely different ways of being human. Dickens basically sets up two opposing teams to fight it out. In one corner, you've got Team Fact. They're all about utilitarianism, cold logic, and self-interest. Their captain is this schoolmaster, Mr. Gradgrind. And in the other corner, you have Team Fancy. They represent imagination, empathy, the human spirit, and their champion is this humble circus girl named Sissy Jupe and her performing family. Dickens shows us this clash perfectly, right from the very first scene in Mr. Gradgrind's awful schoolroom. He puts Sissy Jupe on the spot, a girl who grew up in a circus and literally lives with horses, and demands that she define a horse. And Sissy, who actually knows horses on a deep, personal level, she's speechless. She can't boil down her lived experience into some dry definition. But the star pupil, a kid named Bitzer, oh, he can. He pops up and rattles off the perfect, fact-based textbook answer. And right there, that is the absolute heart of Leavis's point. The philosophy of fact is so obsessed with data that it completely mistakes information for real knowledge. Sissy's genuine intuitive understanding is treated as worthless, while Bitzer's memorized list of trivia is held up as genius. So that opening scene perfectly sets the stage. From that point on, Leavis argues the rest of the novel is just a systematic, step-by-step demolition of Gradgrind's entire worldview. And here's the really crucial part. The system isn't destroyed by some outside enemy. Nope. It eats itself alive. The final proof of its failure comes from its own perfect creations, Gradgrind's children and his star student. First up is his daughter, Louisa. When a marriage is arranged for her with this horrible guy, Mr. Bounderby, she turns her father's own cold logic right back on him. She asks about love, and Gradgrind, the man of facts, is totally stumped by the simple, human question. Predictably, the marriage, which was based on tangible fact, is a complete catastrophe. It leads to her total emotional collapse. She runs home and falls at his feet. The so-called triumph of his system is now just this insensible heap, proving how spectacularly his philosophy fails to account for the human heart. But the final, most devastating blow comes from his prize student, Bitzer. When Gradgrind's son gets into trouble, he goes to Bitzer, the system's greatest success, and begs for a little compassion to help his son escape. He desperately asks him, "Bitzer, have you a heart?" And Bitzer's response is just terrifying. It perfectly illustrates the result of Gradgrind's teaching. He replies with that same literal-minded, factual logic he was taught. He defines the heart as just a biological organ needed for circulation, completely ignoring the emotional meaning. Then Bitzer just calmly explains that helping Gradgrind's son would be a bad calculation for his own career. He is the perfect product of the system, a rational, self-interested, and completely monstrous human being. The philosophy, when you take it to its logical conclusion, creates a person with zero compassion, zero gratitude, zero soul. Now, for Leavis, what makes this fable so incredibly powerful isn't just the plot. It's Dickens' absolute jaw-dropping mastery of language. Leavis argues that Dickens writes with this poetic force that makes all these symbolic ideas feel intensely real and alive. I mean, just look at this description of the factory town, Coketown. The smoke isn't just smoke, it's interminable serpents. The town isn't just industrial, it's severely workful. This is language that breathes life into abstract ideas. And it's so fitting that the final moral of the story doesn't come from some high-minded philosopher. It comes from the kind, lisping, asthmatic circus owner, Mr. Sleary. He sums up the book's entire theme, that there's a kind of love and a way of knowing in this world that you just can't measure or calculate, a truth as mysterious and real as the loyalty of a dog. So when you boil it all down, Leavis isn't just defending a forgotten book. He's actually defending a completely different idea of what a novel can and should be. He's making a case for the power of art that is focused, symbolic, and intentional. Art that doesn't just copy reality, but actually reveals the hidden truths that are simmering just beneath the surface. And all this leaves us with a really fascinating question, one that goes way beyond just this one novel. It forces us to ask what we really value in art and storytelling. Do we want a perfect mirror that reflects the world as it is? Or do we want a powerful lens that helps us truly understand it?